Time to pull up a chair. We've got another great story for you today in the rLounge. Nothing says wake-up call like a warrant and a brief stint behind bars. Today in the rLounge, people mess up, but do they always deserve a second chance? Up first, OP was trying to get pre-approved for a mortgage when they learned that Dad's creative financing was keeping them from becoming a homeowner. Dad stole my identity and opened 3 cards in my name. He told me since I'm young, I can do without for a few years. I'm trying to buy a house and I'm freaking out. I found my dad used my information to open 3 credit cards over the last year. When I went to get a pre-approval for a mortgage, I was told by the lender they wouldn't be able to give me a home loan because of the defaulted credit cards. They also said I probably wouldn't be able to get a loan from any lender because of it and gave me a sheet of paper explaining what I'd need to do in order to fix it. When I tried disputing the cards, one of which is already in collections, the disputes got closed out as the debts were verified. I told my divorced parents about it and their answers were pretty wildly different. My dad said that these things happen and that I should be more careful in the future with my social security number. Seeing as I've always been careful, that made me pretty mad. My mom said she thinks my dad might have something to do with it since him opening credit cards in her name had a part to play in their divorce. She told me he ran up about $50,000 in credit card debt on secret credit cards. A few days ago, I ended up casually telling my dad I'm going to have to file a police report for the credit cards. He told me I probably shouldn't do that because $15,000 isn't that much in the grand scheme of things. When I told him it was keeping me from buying a house, he said I could just wait a few years until they fell off of my credit report. He said it would only take another 4.5 years. When I told him I obviously couldn't wait that long, so I have to file the police report, he straight up told me not to do it and to just be more careful in the future. Once I told him I already got the paperwork together from the credit agencies, he told me he had opened the cards to pay for living expenses over the last year. He said his work slowed down a little bit, but he'd do what he could to help pay it off. He said it would ruin his life if he went to jail. I'm leaning towards going to the police anyway, but I didn't right that minute. I have everything in front of me today to go make a report. I guess I just want to make sure turning it over to the police is the right thing to do here, especially if I'm wanting to buy a house this year. Here's a relative thought from the community. Report him for fraud. The OP replies, that's what I'm leaning towards. I'm realizing if I want to buy a house, I can't have those accounts on my credit. Someone else chimes in, if he wasn't your dad, you'd have reported him already, right? Well, think about this. Why didn't he give you the same respect and not ruin your credit because he's your father? I feel like your dad probably should have thought about the consequences and, jail when he was signing up for credit cards using your information. What happens to him in jail has nothing to do with you. Honestly, if he wasn't your dad, you'd have reported him already and might be starting a new chapter as a homeowner by now. Update 1. I spent half the day reading everyone's comments and it pretty much solidified what I was going to do. The process itself was pretty easy. I went to the police department and the person at the front desk had me wait about 10 minutes before an officer came out. We talked for about 15 minutes and he made copies of all the paperwork I gave him. He told me the case would be assigned to a detective on Tuesday and gave me a pamphlet they have about how to contact the credit agencies. I was given a report number and was told I could use that now to start disputing the accounts. A detective is going to follow up with me in the next couple of weeks. I asked what would end up happening to my dad, and the officer said it looked pretty clear-cut to him, but the charging decision was 100% with the state attorney's office. He said if they decided to pursue charges, he'll likely get a warrant put out for his arrest. He also said typically if this is his first felony, he's probably going to get some sort of pretrial diversion with court supervision or probation. He probably won't go to jail for years, but if he gets picked up on a warrant, he's going to spend at least a little bit of time behind bars. I've decided I'm okay with that because it's obvious to me he did this purposefully. He's never been arrested before, so hopefully this is a wake-up call for him. At the same time, he completely did this to himself. I'll update whenever I learn more. And back to the community for a couple more comments. First up, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Sincerely hope everything works out well for you. The OP replies, I think it will. From what I understand, it might take a month or two for each of the cards to come off my credit, but once they do, my credit score should shoot up. Someone else chimes in, well done, OP. I was so mad on your behalf after reading the first post. It would take everything in me not to use his words against him. Jail time? It's just a few years. You've ruined my life? No, you did by trying to ruin mine. I hope the marks come off of your credit report like it's made of Teflon. Good luck on your home ownership journey. He's earned every episode of his coming legal troubles. I mean, he couldn't even learn the first time, and that ended up in divorce. And who knows if that even was the first time. Update number 2. There's been some good, a little bad, and a little real bad progress the past few days. The good. I used my report number and disputed every account. When I checked my credit last, which everyone should be doing regularly, the one with the lowest balance was already off my account. The other cards in the collection account are still showing, but I have hope they'll be falling off in the next couple of weeks. I also received a call from someone at the prosecutor's office who had a couple of extra questions for me and asked if I would be willing to testify if they charged him. I said yes, and they said they would be making a decision on their charges before the end of the month. The bad. Obviously, someone talked to my dad about this because the last time he talked, he scolded me for going to the police and hasn't talked to me since. One of my brothers was also pretty mad at me about it and hasn't talked to me in over a week. The rest of my siblings and my mom understood where I was coming from. The real bad. One of my other brothers, not the one who was pissed, found 2 open credit cards on his credit which weren't his. He checked his credit score for the first time in a couple of years, and he said it was down about 150 points from where it used to be. He's now in the process of dealing with that. He doesn't have any positive proof yet that it was our dad, but the fingers are pointing in that direction. This still blows my mind that a dad could do this to his own children. I'm moving forward, though. I still hope to be able to purchase a house before the end of the year. Here's some additional information from the OP. Also, I think all my other siblings, there are 6 of us, are checking their credit too, probably for the best. New update. Final update. This is going to be my final update, as it seems like this has gone viral and hit a few different big websites. I'm happy to say my credit has completely returned to normal. All of the disputed accounts are now gone. Obviously, I'm excited about this. It gives me a solid financial future. I also received a letter from the prosecutor's office 2 weeks ago, and they said they are going forward with a charge of what is basically identity theft. I spoke with an assistant prosecutor, and they explained they'd be putting out a warrant shortly, but that, as a first-time offender, they'd probably offer a misdemeanor charge in a plea. My dad was arrested last Friday after a traffic stop. He got out of jail the next day and has a new court date in late August according to the Public Records website. He called me and told me I'm dead to him and to never contact him again. My brother, who found credit cards opened in his name, has made a police report as well, but apparently the addresses are different on the accounts. He was told it was unlikely it would be prosecuted, but he's working on getting them off of his credit. Additional information from OP. Just wanted to give everyone who commented in my other posts a shout out. You have all given me the courage to do this. I'm going to be deleting this throwaway because I really hope to put all of this behind me between the news articles and the having no contact with my dad. Don't let things like this sneak up on you. It breaks my heart to do this to my dad, but he did this to himself. Dead to him? Honestly, good. Here's to new beginnings, fresh credit reports, and hopefully a new chapter where your dad doesn't have the opportunity to do this to anyone else. Never mind his own flesh and blood. If there's one thing you're going to walk away from this with, let it be this. Remember to keep your social security number under lock and key. Your dad's shown you just how creative someone can get with it. Would you have ratted out your own father? Why or why not? Up next, will there be reconciliation for this OP, or is this a case of too little too late? My daughter just contacted me after 17 years asking if I wanted to meet my granddaughter. Am I the a-hole for telling her that I don't care about her or her daughter and to never contact me again? I'm not sure if I'm the a-hole. Going to provide some background. I'm in my 60s now. I was married to my ex-wife, and we had a daughter. Our marriage was going through its ups and downs, but I was really close with our daughter. But as our marriage was going through its difficulties, I made a huge mistake I still regret to this day. I started having an affair with my coworker. She was in a violent, physically abusive relationship at home. We became friends at work, and things just escalated from there. She got an out from me. She got the support she needed to file for divorce from her husband, who is currently in jail now. The affair went nowhere, and we called it off shortly after, but I was glad that she got off her abusive relationship and that she was safe. But when my ex found out about the affair, things expectedly didn't go well. She lashed out and said a lot of horrible things about me to our daughter, who was 15 at the time. I admitted with full fault with the affair, but even after the divorce, I sensed that the distance between me and my daughter was growing, until one day, my daughter said she wasn't going to speak with me anymore, and she was going to cut me off from her life forever. That was the most painful thing anyone had ever said to me. I begged her to please reconsider. I still remember that day. But time passed on. My daughter kept her word, and after trying to connect with her for the first year, I gave up. I found out from one of my mutual friends that my ex-wife married a great guy. I was happy because I was hoping that would remove the hatred from my ex-wife, and my ex-wife would advise our daughter to at least rekindle a relationship with me. But that never happened. I moved to States a year later. I'm at peace now, but still have some aching sadness. I have retired. Both my parents have passed away. My brother passed away tragically a couple years ago. To be honest, I'm waiting for my turn. I've only my dog and my sister left. A couple of hours ago, my daughter called me on my phone. I haven't spoken to her in 17 years. I instantly recognized her voice, but I didn't feel anything. No happiness, no sadness, just indifference. She was crying a lot on the call, and we caught up a little on life. She's married, and she has a daughter who's now 12. She apologized for cutting contact, and she says her mom asked her to reconnect with me, as her mom felt guilty about how everything played out. She said she really wanted me to meet her daughter, and her daughter was constantly asking about granddaddy. But I wasn't feeling anything. After we caught up on everything on our life, I told her I don't care about her or her daughter, and to never contact me again. I then hung up. Was I the a-hole? The comments tear OP a new one. Let's check in with him and see. You're the a-hole. I hate when adults make very bad adult decisions that affect their children and then blame the children when they respond in a very childlike manner. Your daughter was a teenager. That is a rough time for kids even when their home life is stable. You gave her 1 whole year before you cut bait and gave up on her. Then you moved away. You told your daughter that she wasn't important enough to fight for, and she believed you. Now that she is an adult with a child of her own, she has reached out to you, and you again told her she wasn't important to you. She now knows she was probably right to cut you out of the first time. The next person says, she has reached out to you, and you again told her she wasn't important to you. It sounds like he's been waiting 17 years to hurt her back, and he finally got his wish. Congrats on his small, pathetic victory. He's totally the a-hole. Next person says, ain't nothing like a deadbeat narcissist claiming to be the one victim in a situation he created for himself. I was helping my coworker get out of an abusive marriage. Another person says, I helped out a coworker out of an abusive marriage and didn't even have to sleep with her. Shocking. This was followed up by, well, it's already been said, but you're the a-hole. The OP replies, okay. The next person says, you don't have to be one though. A lot of time has passed. At least try to meet her halfway. Surely you owe her that much. Another thought. I'm confused as to how this is even a question for OP, but I guess he doesn't care about anything and is just waiting to die, alone. How tragic. Obviously the judgment was you're the a-hole. Update. 1 day later. Look, I was extremely drunk last night. The words which came out of my mouth weren't the best, and my comments on my post weren't great either. Seeing how everyone said I was the a-hole, I decided to call my daughter again an hour ago. I didn't really expect her to pick up the call, but she picked up immediately. I apologized for last night, and she said there was no need to apologize. I then sent her a link to this Reddit post on messages, and told her how I was the a-hole, and thousands said so. She again said I wasn't the a-hole. She started crying again. I told her she's free to come to my house anytime the next 4 months because after that, I will be leaving the country with my sister and our dog. Our parents left us a nice farmhouse in their home country, and we will be spending the rest of our lives there. I sent her my address on messages, and my daughter said she'd come with her husband and her daughter by the end of the next week. She asked if she was welcome to stay there for multiple days, and told her she could stay for however long she wanted, as our house was spacious enough. One more comment from the community. Just saw the update, and good crap, man. I hope things work out for you, and don't be hard on yourself. Life happens, and sometimes things are out of control, but I'm super glad you and your daughter have rekindled your relationship, and I hope it all turns out great for you. Maybe you're not an a-hole after all. Life's hard sometimes, and we all make emotional choices sometimes. Be well, OP. Who knew that hitting rock bottom and then getting a lecture from Reddit could lead to such a heartwarming reunion? Thankfully, you turned the boat around, and you're waving the white flag. And honestly, thank goodness you have a daughter who's so compassionate. You've got a past there. Hopefully you can both make a good future. What do you think? Can OP be forgiven? Thank you for joining us today in the rLounge. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. See you soon. And please put your chair back where you found it.